You ever notice how some songs just, I don't know, feel connected? Like they share some kind of secret DNA, even if one's a huge rock anthem and the other's a slow, soulful ballad? Well, it turns out that's not just you. There is a hidden pattern, a secret code that links a ton of the music we listen to every single day.
So, what is this invisible thread, right? What's a secret ingredient that makes rock and roll, jazz, and even a lot of modern pop songs feel like they're all part of the same big musical family? Well, that is the mystery we are going to solve right now. So, let's get into it. All right, the answer to that question, the key to cracking this whole code, is something called the 12-bar blues. And let me tell you, it is one of the most important, most influential musical patterns ever created, period. Now, this whole musical idea wasn't invented in some fancy studio. Nope, it grew organically, right from the experiences of African American communities way back in the late 19th century. It came from things like work songs and storytelling, and it became this incredibly powerful way to express feelings, to share stories, and to talk about the real struggles of daily life. Okay, so what is it exactly? The best way to think about the 12-bar blues is like a musical blueprint. It's a foundational structure, right, made of 12 repeating chunks of music, and it provides the framework for, countless songs. It's literally the skeleton that so much of our favorite music is built on. All right, to really get this code, we have to break down that blueprint piece by piece. So let's look at the two key parts that make the whole thing tick: the number of bars and the chords that go inside them. Okay, first things first, the number. The single most important part of this entire idea is right there in the name. Everything, and I mean everything, revolves around the number 12. But 12 what? Well, 12 bars. Now, in music, a bar, sometimes called a measure, it's just a small container for time, that's all. It usually holds 4 steady beats. You can literally count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, that's 1 bar. So the 12-bar blues just takes 12 of these little containers and lines them up in a row. Altogether, they form one complete musical thought, kind of like a sentence. And here's the really important part. Once you get to the end of bar 12, the whole cycle just starts right back over again at bar 1. It's a constant loop. Okay, so that's the structure. Now for the next layer of the blueprint. What actually goes inside those 12 bars? Well, the answer is a very specific sequence of just 3 simple chords. And these chords are what give the blues its signature sound. I love this analogy. Think of these chords as the 3 primary colors of music. Seriously. Just like a painter can mix red, yellow, and blue to create basically any color imaginable, musicians use these 3 specific chords, we call them the I, the IV, and the V, to create a huge, huge variety of musical moods and feelings. So the first primary color is the I chord. This is your home base. It's the musical center of the whole song. It's where everything starts and, where it all feels resolved and comfortable. It just feels like home. Next up, you've got the IV chord. Think of this one as taking a little trip away from home. It creates a shift in the mood, right? It's like a change of scenery that moves the musical story forward and, well, keeps things from getting boring. And finally, there's the V chord. Ooh, this one is all about tension, suspense. It creates this feeling of anticipation. It's like that moment at the very top of a roller coaster, That feeling that makes you desperate to get back to the safety and comfort of that I chord, back to home base. Okay, so let's actually look at the map for this musical journey. You can see we start out safe at home, spending the first 4 bars on that comfortable I chord. Then, right at bar 5, we take that little trip to the IV chord for a couple of bars before coming back home to I. But the real drama, the action, it happens in bar 9. That's our roller coaster moment with the V chord. It creates all this tension that pulls us through the IV, and then, finally, we get that satisfying landing right back home on the I chord. That's the blueprint in action, right there.
Okay, so we have the musical structure down. But what about the words? Well, it turns out the lyrics in a classic blues song also follow a predictable pattern that fits perfectly right on top of those 12 bars.
It's called the AAB pattern, and it is super simple. Here's how it works. Over the first 4 bars, the singer makes a statement. We'll call that line A. Then, for the next 4 bars, they just repeat that exact same line, A. This is cool because it gives you, the listener, a second to really let the idea sink in. And then finally, in the last 4 bars, they sing a totally new line, B, that answers or comments on the first line. And it usually rhymes. The blues is also famous for this amazing technique called call and response. It really makes the music feel like a live conversation. So the singer, or maybe a lead instrument like a guitar, will call out with a musical phrase. And then, in the little gap right after, another instrument will respond with an answer. It's what makes the music feel so dynamic and interactive. So we've got the structure and we've got the story. But what is it that gives the blues that unique, soulful feel? Well, it really comes down to two more key ingredients: the rhythm and the actual notes being played. You know, a lot of music has a really straight rhythm where every beat is perfectly even, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But the blues often uses what's called a shuffle rhythm. It's got this bouncy, relaxed, kind of long, short feel. Think more like da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. It's that rhythm that just makes you want to move. And the final piece of this whole puzzle is something called the blues scale. The best way I can describe it is like a special flavor packet for melodies. It includes these things called blue notes, which are basically notes that are played a little bit lower or flatter than you'd normally expect. And that tiny little change is what creates that classic, soulful, sometimes sad sound that is just so uniquely blues. Okay, so why does a musical structure from over 100 years ago matter so much today? Well, it's because this blueprint, it didn't just stay in the past. Oh no, it evolved. The 12-bar blues is basically the ancestor of almost all modern popular music. I'm serious. When musicians sped it up and threw in some electric guitars, boom, it became rock and roll. Jazz artists took that same structure and used it as a launch pad for these incredible, complex solos. You can hear its DNA all over soul music, R&B, country, and yeah, even in the chord progressions of some of today's biggest pop hits. Ultimately, what happened is the 12-bar blues became a universal language. It's this common ground that lets musicians from completely different backgrounds walk into a room, count to 4, and just start creating music together, instantly. It's a shared code that connects entire generations of artists.
So the next time you're listening to your favorite playlist, I want you to listen a little closer. Because now you have the key. You know how to unlock music's most famous secret code. The only question left is, where are you going to hear it next?